It is 2 o'clock on Wednesday, September 10. I'm calling the Frederick County Board of Elections meeting to order. It has been determined that we have a quorum with 3 members present in person and 1 member online. Is Mr. Neves online? Present are Shirley McDonald, Secretary, and Nate Wilson, Vice President, and Mr. Ted Neves online, and I'm Mary Costello. Welcome. Thank you for coming today. Let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Madam President, I believe you wanted to make 2 additions.
Yes. The first addition is to discuss a request that the board engage in a dialogue with speakers during public comment. The second is to read a letter of commendation. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
And an addition for presentation procedures for the public.
Under new business?
Under new business, yes.
Would you repeat that for me?
Procedures or accommodations for public presentations.
Okay, you want a discussion of that?
Please.
Thank you. Any other changes or to the agenda? We've all had an opportunity to read the minutes from the August 6, 2025 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes or additions?
Can you speak up, please?
Can I have a motion then to accept the minutes as written?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And for the public, Mr. Sell has joined us. The minutes of August 6th have been approved unanimously. Is county council liaison with us? And also with us is board counsel, Mr. Dan Loftus. Do you have anything to report to us?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to bring everybody up to date on those 2 lawsuits. The Della Roca lawsuit, and that is now in the appeal stage, and both parties are filing their briefs, and the plaintiff, the state of, not the plaintiff, the defendant, the state of Maryland, their brief is to be filed in September of this year. And the next case is the Bryson case, and SBE has filed a motion to dismiss, and the plaintiffs have opposed that, and now we're just waiting for the court on those motions, and no hearing has been set yet. So that's all I have to report right now. Thank you.
Any questions for council? Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Election director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. For announcements and important meetings, on September 3rd, I attended the Rotary monthly meeting in Frederick. Voter registration, we are currently at a little shy of 209,000 active voters. In the month of August, we added 1,194 to the voter registration. We subtracted 925 voters. We had 278 party affiliation changes We had 1,101 address changes within the jurisdiction, and there was 455 name changes that we, that the voter registration group changed. In the administration division, we will be recruiting one new IT employee, hopefully this month, next month, sometime in that time frame. We will have the vacancy out. We continue to take candidate filings until the deadline in February of 2026. And we are preparing the FY27 budget. We will start talking to the county probably late September, early October. It's one of our first meetings. And voting systems division, the voting system division is current with the routine charging cycle of the year for all of the S200 scanners, ballot marking devices, and the electronic poll books to ensure optimal battery performance for the upcoming election. The third routine charging cycle of the year for all electronic poll books was completed in August. All of the S200s and BMDs will be charged in the 4th week of September. The voting system division is also working on supplying us with supporting documentation for the 2026 election plan. They continue to work with SBE on making sure that all our polling places are ADA compliant and making sure all the paperwork is done. In the voter registration division, we've completed the August ERIC numbers. ERIC is the Electronic Registration Information Center report that we get. We've done all our audits with DHMH records and the courts. We also, staff is reviewing and updating SOPs as needed. They've had a MAO, a Maryland Association of Election Officials voter registration meeting that takes place. Is that scheduled today?
That was today at 10 o'clock.
That was today at 10 o'clock. And we sent out some MVA surrender letters. Surrender letters from the MVA is when we know that somebody has moved and they're surrendering their Maryland driver's license in order to get a driver's license in the state that they now reside in. We get that information and then we go ahead and send them out a letter just to make sure that they're, just for confirmation purposes, correct?
Yeah, the state was doing it, it's now moved to the local.
So the state usually, this is usually a job for the state board, but now the locals have that duty. So we just started doing that this month. In mail-in ballot division and the Dropbox section, they had a mail-in ballot meeting yesterday. The next one is scheduled for October 7th. We will have a data hygiene pool. It was pushed back 1 week. It should be by the end of the month. And when we talk about data hygiene, what happens is with all our ballots going out, we have a distributor called Taylor who sends us all these addresses that our ballots are going. We get those addresses, and in bounce backs, we kind of look into our system to see if we can correct it. It could be a street name, it could be anything, but it just keeps our voter rolls clean and the addresses from bouncing back. So we don't get all those bounce back ballots, ballots coming back in the mail. So we will be conducting one of those in collaboration with the state board later this month. In the election judge division, the office has an upcoming outreach event at Frederick's in the Street, so we will be there, I think, on Church Street, across from the League of Women Voters, I believe. So we'll be out there registering voters and signing up election judges. Hopefully you guys can stop by and say hi to us. There will be their next monthly voter registration distribution training is on Wednesday, September 24th at 2 o'clock. If you're interested in learning how to sign up voters, register voters to vote, please give us a call. We'll get you in the class. I think this class is very large. We do one every month, and you can find that information on the website. We continue, the voter, election judge, continues to process interest letters from prospective election judges for the 2026 elections, as well as gathering information on our returning judges and their availability. Now is the perfect time to contact us about being an election judge in 2026. So if you know of anybody interested in being an election judge, please have them contact the office. Or go online and fill out the application. In GIS and special projects, they are doing, they're still continuing the street file cleanup. Again, that's another thing that we go into our voter registration system and we carefully review and update street files to make sure that we have all the new streets that are coming online. You know that we're heavy building in Frederick all the time and new people are moving in, so we make sure that the address are accurate and verified, that it's a residential status, so we look for people, especially people that are in a commercial, and we look to see if those, we take those addresses out and fix those addresses if they're in a commercial area, right? I mean,
Yeah.
some commercial areas are like apartment buildings, so we go and we check to make sure that actual people are living in those places. Sometimes we really have to go out physically to the location just to make sure that that happens. So we're still doing that work. That work will probably won't finish until October or November timeframe, where we'll have all those records reviewed. They're also, let's see, they're also working with the county GIS and doing some mapping. And they're working on some internal stuff with us for tracking mechanisms for when we go into the 2026 election. And in building management, to ensure staff are prepared for any emergencies, we are revising our standard operation procedures and conducting drills to keep the skills sharp. The state troop plan is being updated, and we've already updated the county troop plan, the continuing operations plan. And that concludes my report, and it will be added into the minutes. Thank you.
Madam,
Questions for the director?
Yes.
hi. Would it be possible to add to the report in the future, under the election judge division, the total number of applications per month, and then a breakdown of party that's been accepted for election judges? Thank you.
Any other questions for the director? Thank you, Barbara. We'll move on now to old business. And we are welcoming the public comment for 2026 polling place plan.
Yes, Madam President, we have a couple of staff presentations, part two, if that's
Okay,
amenable.
of course. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam President and Board. I'm here to address a couple of questions that arose from last meeting with regard to costs associated with the 5th Early Voting Center and additional drop boxes. So the costs associated with EV Center 5, first a little background on that. So according to election law, Title 10-301, 1B5, a county with at least 200,000 registered voters, but fewer than 300,000 registered voters, shall have 5 early voting centers established in the county. Knowing the number of voters in 2024, we were able to adequately budget for this additional site in our FY 2026 county budget, the current fiscal year. So this would include additional polling place judges, office staff in support of the center, to include daily box pickups, as well as any building property rental. Additional expenses would include the setup of 1 remote drop box security camera and installation. So the initial setup for security cameras would run approximately $1,500 as a one-time expense. Box delivery and pickup would cost roughly $744. Staffing costs run $16 to $18 per hour. Mileage would remain the same. So, and the additional building rental for the fifth site is $5,000 per election. The second piece, the second question in this, so what are the costs associated with the 2 additional drop boxes? And I mentioned some of that in answering question 1. It would include the box pickup and delivery, camera equipment, the actual drop box pickup, ballot pickup. So these total approximately $3,944. So that would be addressing those 2 questions. If there's any additional questions from the board.
What is the price of the actual box? Is that owned by the county or is that owned by the state board?
The actual drop box
The box.
is an SBE
Okay,
asset.
state asset,
So
okay.
the delivery and pickup is the actual transportation company who actually does that.
Got it, thank you.
Any other questions for Tom? Anthony?
Thank you.
The public was given the opportunity to submit public testimony via online portal on our website or to email us at our election board email address, and I have the summary of those comments that were submitted. A voter in Union Bridge, thank you for the drop box and early vote center in Liberty Town. A voter in Mount Airy, as a resident of the rural area northwest of Mount Airy, we would welcome the addition of early voting and a ballot drop box at the Liberty Town Fire Station. Liberty Road is our primary route to and from Frederick, as is the case with many other voters out this way. A voter in Frederick, I read the article in the FNP this morning and wanted to give my feedback. Although I'm not a fan of the drop boxes, I do appreciate and have taken advantage of the early voting. I'm glad to see early voting will be held at the Trinity Recreation Center location. Another voter from Frederick. Trinity Recreation Center is okay, but there is work needed to make it a good site for large crowd. Another voter from Frederick. Thank you for increasing voter access by adding 2 new ballot drop boxes at an additional early voting site. Continues, this is what democracy looks like. A voter in Brunswick. I want to thank the Board of Elections for taking public comment on the proposed changes to early voting locations and ballot drop boxes ahead of the 2026 election. I think an increase in available locations is critical as the county's population continues to increase, especially in light of changes happening elsewhere. As far as I can tell, the proposed changes appear to take into account many critical factors, parentheses, known construction projects, site accessibility, parking considerations, etc., close parentheses, which is key in making it easier for our citizens to vote. A voter in Thurmont. I read the article in the paper a few days ago and wish to make a comment regarding the early voting location at the Thurmont Public Library. I early voted in 2024 at that location and was deeply concerned about the location of the various voting booths for completing a paper ballot. The way they were arranged and how the line for the electronic voting was winding through the location made it extremely easy for those in line to see how people sitting to complete their ballot were voting. It is my belief that this location is entirely too small to handle the number of people voting early. I feel another location should be considered, or the number and layout of the actual voting booths should be reduced, allowing for voter privacy. While this might increase lines and wait time, at least people have the privacy to vote without others knowing how they voted. A voter from Adamstown. Thank you for the opportunity to offer comments on the Board of Elections' proposed election plan for 2026. Please consider increasing the number of drop boxes from 10 to 13 and add a drop box to Point of Rocks. Installing a drop box will serve the rural southern part of the county, particularly Adamstown and Point of Rocks, which are roughly 20 minutes away from the nearest drop box. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide comments. And one additional comment from a voter in Newmarket. I appreciate the proposed addition of an early voting center and drop box in Liberty Town. Thank you for your dedication and for working to make voting more accessible.
Thank you. And now we are ready for public comment.
Public testimony.
And I think Mr. Weinberg
I just,
has asked to speak.
Thank you, board, illustrious council, and wonderful director. I'll make this short. My name is Mark Weinberg. I'm on the Democratic Central Committee, but I'm speaking on my own behalf here. I fully support the 2026 plan. Anything that expands the access to voting to our citizens and to all residents is extremely important. As most of you know, the Constitution doesn't really guarantee the right to vote. It's up to the states and the counties or subdivisions. And I want to applaud you guys because it's a very, very important thing, obviously, because it is the thing of democracy. It is the blood of democracy. And I applaud you, and I wish that you continue to expand your efforts for access and make it easier for every single person in our county to vote. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments about the polling plan? Ms. Lee?
Are you going comments right
Oh,
now?
I didn't know. I'll wait till the end.
This is
I
not,
was
this
gonna
is just for the
say
polling.
that, but I'll wait till the end.
This is just for the
Oh,
polling
if
place
you
plan.
want,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to testify, you can.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Good afternoon, board. Excuse me. I apologize. I'm trying to get over a cold, so I'm trying to be mindful of those in the room here. I want to echo, similar to what Mark and what some of the writers had said. Most certainly, I am the chair of the Democratic Party here in Frederick, and most certainly we believe in expanded access. One thing that I didn't even realize until earlier today when I was doing some research, and this is for future thought, but as you're thinking of planning in the future, I would like you to consider a walkable early voting center in Frederick City. Because I know you have the early voting drop box, but for people that don't, that maybe one day just want to walk in, they don't have a walkable way to do that in the city. So I would like you to consider that for future. But I most certainly am in favor, the Central Committee is in favor of the 2026 plan, and thank you for that expanded access and your continued commitment to that. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment about the polling place plan? Thank you for those who have commented. And I see we've been joined by a council liaison. Would you like to have anything to report to us?
Sorry for being late. I had two meetings at the same time, and I was trying to get my computer at home to record the other meeting so I could get here. The only thing that I wanted to report is, if there's anything that the board has to put into the legislative packet, for the county executive and the council to send to our delegation in Annapolis to push for legislation, that deadline is coming up, and so therefore, you've already submitted stuff, okay, good. And then, the only other thing was, the council is, looking at, other than data centers, which is taking over our agenda right now, we are looking at, housing is gonna be big, but that's not your thing. Oh, and the budget is coming up, but you are prepared for that. So, that's really pretty much it. And just, I'm looking forward to this meeting, and we're all kind of watching the city election, so thanks.
Any questions for the liaison? Thank you. All right. Then, is there any board discussion about the 2026 polling place plan? Then,
Are we going to, is there going to be a vote on this?
yes. Then I ask for a motion to approve the 2026 polling place plan.
Could we divide that into two, one for the plan and one for the non-statutory Dropbox?
Sure, we can buy it, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
Motion we accept the plan as proposed, and, have a separate vote for the, additional single Dropbox, placement,
The motion is just for,
just for the polling place
Polling
plan as
place
presented, last meeting.
at the last
Yeah.
meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor? Aye. Mr.
Aye.
Neves? Thank you. And the second motion?
I would leave that to someone else for that motion. This
Does
is-
everyone understand what
No.
Nate is
Please
proposing?
explain. the
Why
motion
it
is
needs to be
repeated.
separate?
So the board has suggested a placement of a Dropbox that is not part of an early voting center. And the board is requesting that we approve that placement. It's not statutorily, it's not a required placement by law, it's a placement to expand access.
Okay, can I have a motion about approving the addition of a Dropbox that is not at an early voting center?
Excuse me, did you get a second?
We
No.
haven't had that motion yet.
Yeah, it was
The-
more
the
of an
motion
explanation.
hasn't
Yeah,
been
that was
made.
an explanation.
Madam Chair, for clarity, could we identify the Dropbox? Is that the Wolfsville Elementary box we're speaking of, or which box are we speaking of?
So the only remaining box that's not part of the original plan is Wolfsville, that's an independent
So this is the
Dropbox.
second motion
Yeah.
on Wolfsville? Thank you for the minutes.
Yeah.
So you talk about ED Center 5?
The drop-off, it's just the drop-off, not the voting.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a singular drop-off.
okay.
I will make the motion that we approve the Dropbox at Wolfsville.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any
I'll
abstaining?
Abstain.
And the vote is 4-1, and with one abstention by Mr.
No, I don't think that's the vote. It was, Ted said aye.
Yes?
Yes, you did.
Ted, would you
I
like
did.
to confirm? Yeah.
All
So,
right, but Nate.
I've
Nate's abstaining.
Four,
yeah.
four,
So,
4, 0 against, and 1 abstain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, just clarifying.
are we clear? Thank you, everyone. We'll move on now to the new business. The summary of the Open Meetings Act finding. Ms. McDonald?
Yes. Okay. We received this summary, and I am going to read a summary of the finding. Ms. Kelly Foster filed a complaint with the Open Meetings Compliance Board against the Frederick County Board of Elections on June 16th, 2025, alleging that the Board of Elections violated the Open Meetings Act by not allowing Ms. Foster to video record the June 11th, 2025 board meeting, excuse me, and telling another person mid-meeting to stop filming. The board denied any violations of the Open Meetings Act and filed a response. The Open Meetings Compliance Board read Ms. Foster's complaint and subsequent follow-up information and the board's responses. On August 25th, 2025, the Open Meetings Compliance Board issued its opinion and held that the Board of Elections violated the Open Meetings Act, section, excuse me, violated the Open Meetings Act, section 303B, by not allowing Ms. Foster to record the meeting, and the Open Meetings Compliance Board could not determine whether the board violated the Open Meetings Act by telling another person mid-meeting to stop recording because it was not clear to the Open Meetings Compliance Board from the record whether that person was filming in a disruptive manner. Pursuant to the Open Meeting Act, Section 321B, the board is required to announce the violation at its next board meeting and orally summarize the opinion, and a majority of the board to sign a copy of the opinion and return it to the Open Meetings Compliance Board. Please know, under the Open Meetings Act, Section 321D, that by announcing the violation and giving an oral summary of the opinion, this is not an admission to a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald.
At this time, Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I have the opinion here if you want to, those who want to sign it. Now, Ted's not here to sign if he wants to sign. But I need a majority of the members to sign this so that I can send this to the Open Meetings Compliance Board.
I would like first to sign it in public.
Sign it.
See, this is not an admission of guilt.
Correct. And Mr. Neves, will you make arrangements to sign if you are willing to sign sometime in the next week or whenever you are able to?
Yeah, let me get through this throat thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, yeah, let me get through this throat infection.
Yes, thanks. I hope you feel better. All right, in new business, we'll move on to the presentation of the electronic registration registration administration center, information center processing, sorry.
Good afternoon. I'm going to review ERIC today, specifically what it is and the reports it generates. ERIC was formed in 2012 by Colorado, Delaware, Maryland, Nevada, Utah, Virginia, and Washington with the assistance of the Pew Charitable Trust. ERIC is a trusted source that reviews voter records of Maryland voters to other states' voter records, motor vehicle data, the National Change of Address List, and Social Security death data. There are currently 25 states and Washington, D.C. that participate in ERIC. Those are the states. We pulled the information we've shown today from the ERIC website. It's down here, ericstates.org, between Monday and today. So anyone can go online and review any of the slides shown today when they get home. Next slide. One report that's created is the Cross States Report. That compares the Maryland voter records to other states that participate in ERIC's voter records and their motor vehicle data. ERIC will review those, find matches, and then they tell us. And then me and my team will go through and we review all those records. And when we find records that do match, we send out a confirmation card to those voters for that report. We have the in-state report. That compares the Maryland records from around the other counties to Frederick County and the MVA. If we find a match when we're reviewing those records, we send out confirmation cards to those voters. There's the duplicate report. scans all Maryland voter records for duplicate matches found in the state. I will look at those. If I determine that it is a duplicate record, I will merge them. If not, we send out a confirmation letter to those voters. There's the deceased report. This compares our records, voters, to the Social Security death list. I will review any matches that we get reported to us. If I find a match, then those voters are canceled. If there's not a match, we send a letter of confirmation to that address for the voter to get back to the school. Next slide. We also have the National Change of Address report. This compares our records to the National Change of Address list. We will look at those records, compare them. If their data looks more up to date, we will send out a confirmation card to the voters to update. There's also a voter participation report that is not used at the local level, that's done at the state level. This flags instances of potential double voting, either across the states that participate in ERIC or the same states. It also will report if it looks like people have voted under deceased voters' records. And the final report that we get from ERIC is a report of eligible but unregistered voters. This cross-references our voter register rolls with the MVA records, the potential voters that might be eligible but not registered, and we send them out a letter saying, looks like you're not registered, and how should you get registered. Change slide. For the voters who get confirmation cards or letters, they have 14 days to respond to us from when we send out that confirmation card or letter. If we do not hear from them, they're removed from the active list and moved to the inactive list. The voters who have been made inactive from that, you can find on the monthly statistical report under subtractions from county active status, reasons, and those two codes are going to fall under the confirmation mail process and confirmation mail process NVRA. So it won't say because of ERIC, it's the confirmation card. That's why they're being removed from the status. It's not because of ERIC. In our August report with ERIC, we processed 2,547 records for ERIC that we compared, that they flagged for us that we should look at. Of those records, 1,118 confirmation cards were sent out because of that. And if those people did not respond to us in those 14 days, then those people would have been made inactive. So the states that participate in ERIC do have to send their data to ERIC every 60 days. ERIC gets that, they then compare it, then they get it back to us. Then we have time to make those changes. And then there is the 14 days after for people to be inactive. So there is a little bit of time from when someone might appear on the National Change of Address list, Social Security list, to when they finally are actually removed, between preparing the records, transferring data, and the time it takes to go through, like I said, the 2,547 records. That's all I have. Is there any
Questions?
When we refer to Social Security and National Change of Address information, is that information that's then parsed from just the 25 participating states or from the actual national database? Or does ERIC only report back just of the 25?
So ERIC gets the list from the national, the Social Security list, that would be all 50 states.
So it'd be
and-
all inclusive and
Yeah.
not parsed?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, those are from the
Thank
Social
you.
Security and the post office.
No, it's self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure.
No, right.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Very helpful.
These slides will be made available when the board approves that first set of minutes. So they will be on our website and they will be made available as part of the whole package of presentation.
The board has received an informal request through council for the board to engage in dialogue with speakers during public comment. And this request is open now for discussion.
I would say the board being a public meeting, and a board, any board member or the director or board counsel has the right to respond at any time in this meeting to a question. And the board, it's my feeling that the board should not, if someone wishes on the board to make a response, that they are free to do so. I don't think that anything other than that has been the case, and if the board wishes to respond, that's their choice. A member wishes to respond, that's their choice.
Other discussion?
Well, under the Open Meetings Act, I mean, there's no requirement at all for board members to respond, and actually there's no requirement to have public comments. So the fact that we do allow people to make comments, I think, that's sufficient, that there's no need for us to respond to any kind of dialogue that occurs in our meeting.
Cannot hear over here.
And as we've seen today, when a question has come up about something like Eric, it is responded to in an appropriate way at the appropriate time.
They can't hear.
Okay, so what didn't you hear?
I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay.
I could not hear your response. All I heard was Open Meetings Act.
Okay. What I was saying was that there's no requirement under the Open Meetings Act for public comment at all. And the fact that we do allow it, I think is a good thing. And since there is no requirement for public comment and we do allow it, I don't think it's necessary for board members to respond when people come up and make presentations. You hear me? Thank you.
And by definition, public comment is strictly that, public comment.
Any other discussion? Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I think it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you. And we also are open for discussion about procedures for public presentations. I assume you mean public comment.
So at the previous meeting, I think it was Winston had tried to propose some documents to the board, and I think it doesn't serve the public well to not be able to see what that is also. So my recommendation is, if you've been here for Canvas during our canvassing, is being able to have the public be able to present on our projector so that it's then seen, and now that the video is recorded as well, that can be presented on the screen. Everyone in the audience can see it, as well as the members. Cuts down on the amount of papers being passed, and it can be passed appropriately through the procedures that were set out probably over a year ago for presenting documents to the director, staff, and then that can be held on to. So my recommendation is that staff look at the process and see if we're able to set up that projector in a similar fashion.
Any other discussion about that? or-
I would just we don't know what we get until we get it. And so we don't have a method of reviewing that information to make sure it's not now mis or disinformation and putting that as part of our record. I don't think that serves us well if we are putting out now or mis or disinformation or things that we can't verify. So that's where my,
Yeah, that's not censorship is not the responsibility of the board when it comes to public comment, because as we've seen in other county meetings that have occurred, that's what the right of free speech is. So, I mean, if we need to put a disclaimer on there that this is not a view of the board, then I'm happy to support that,
As
but,
long as that is evident, that,
Yeah.
you know, it's not the view of the board, because again,
Yeah.
we don't get these things ahead of time. So I don't know where that's going.
I think it's the same as the public comment that we just had that was unscreened, as well as the public comment at the end.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Council, is this a First Amendment issue?
Sure, it's always gonna be a First Amendment issue. And, there's always gonna be a First Amendment issue dealing with administrative procedures, dealing with time, place, sort of like housekeeping. For example, let me give you an example, that for free speech, First Amendment, you want to have a permit to have a parade or a demonstration. Well, you're gonna need to have this put before, elected officials, the staffers, to find out when would be a good time to have this parade or demonstration. You're not stifling free speech, but what you're doing is trying to make sure that it is orderly, it's within the calendar. You're doing some housekeeping measures. So we're not going to oppose any type of free speech at all. If somebody wants to say something, it could be something outrageous, it could be something that's informational, but we're not going to stifle free speech.
What about Mr. Wilson's suggestion that, a proposal that it be put on the screen?
Well, that's up to the board. I think, it may cut down on time. If you have something on the screen that everybody can see, I think that's helpful. So that you don't have somebody passing out information to everybody and the public doesn't know. I think if you have it on the screen, everybody sees it, just like what Nate was talking about during canvassing, that we introduce it to the public. I think that that's a mechanism that could streamline the public comment period.
Well, I guess I would be more in favor if any kind of public comment is sent in ahead of time, so we can review it, to make sure that if there's any remark that could offend somebody, for instance, or if somebody's using inappropriate words in a comment, or whatever. I just think it'd be good, just on the safe side, to make sure we see it beforehand, before we put it on the screen. I don't think that's an issue. To me, that shouldn't be a problem.
anybody in this room right now could, hold up a sign or moon us. So, I don't think that behooves us, and I don't think that that's in line with free speech, so.
You think it's a violation of free speech?
I just don't think.
To ask to have it submitted ahead of time?
Yeah, because that could change. I just don't think that serves us well. I think that's more documentation, and that just takes things down another road.
Well, I don't want the board to be in the First Amendment police department.
Yeah.
So if you ask somebody to submit it ahead of time, but I don't have an objection with that, but I would have an objection if the board decides what's obscene, what's not obscene, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. I would have a problem with that. That would be a violation, I think, of the First Amendment.
Any other comment?
I think we simply say it's not our material, it's submitted as part of public comment. And we let it go at that.
But it could be on the screen.
It could be on the screen.
And I think Madam President has made comments about that before, a similar statement in meetings before. It's not the board's
It's not the board's.
information, and I think we could simply, before public comment,
Right.
make that statement and.
That way we're not censoring
Yeah.
it, we're not,
You're just telling the public that this is not the board's position.
right.
Correct.
Just make it clear that it's not
You're
our
just
position.
receiving it.
Not necessarily our position. It might be our
Yeah.
position, but it's not necessarily our position.
Okay. Any further comment? Then can I have, does this need a motion? This is not a policy issue or,
No, if you want to have a motion, you can.
Well, first we have to find out whether we can do it,
yes.
whether staff can do it.
The mechanism?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll,
You want to defer to the staff then?
defer to the staff and you will report back to us, please. Yep. Thank you very much. Mr. Wilson, does
Thank
that
you.
satisfy your?
Yes.
Request
Thank you.
today, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Are there any, one more thing, very important, a letter of commendation. This is dated August the 11th, 2025, addressed to Ms. Barbara Wagner, Director, Frederick County Board of Elections. Dear Barbara, on behalf of the board, I'm writing to commend you and the staff for the time and effort spent working with Blessings in a Backpack to provide hunger-free weekends to Frederick children. When such efforts are planned in the future, I and other members of the board would be pleased to join you. This is yet another example of the commitment of each of you to serving the citizens of Frederick County. You continue to make us proud. Sincerely, and it's signed, Mary Costello, President. Are there any disclosures to be made?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. The next meeting will be on the first Wednesday of October, which is the 1st. Is that date?
I do have I will be in St. Mary's County doing something else, so Anthony, so I do have a prior thing.
Okay, is that date acceptable to everyone? Okay, it is, the next meeting is
Mary?
scheduled for, yes,
Are you speaking about the 1st?
I think I'm correct,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
1st of
Okay.
October.
I was going to recommend we move that back a week. That would make that meeting equidistant in time between this meeting and the November meeting.
That would also provide the opportunity for the director to be here. Is anyone want to comment on that? It's fine with me.
What's the reason, Ted?
Just to make it.
We only have about 3 weeks between now and October 1st. If we move it 1 week, that gives us 4 weeks now and 4 weeks until the November meeting. It just kind of made sense to me, but I got a weird brain, so y'all can chew it over.
No, we appreciate your brain.
I mean, that works for me.
All right. Okay, then the meeting will be scheduled for the second Wednesday in October, which is the 8th.
Isn't that the
8th.
10th?
October 8th.
Yes.
That was October 8th.
Yes, the 8th,
That was this one.
October the 8th, yes. We're now open to public comment, and I understand we have an approved request for
3 people.
For, first of all, Ms. Foster.
My name is Kelly Foster. Thank you for allowing me to speak. As board members know, I submitted a Public Information Act request for information on election judge parity for the 2024 election. Because that price is still higher than an individual like myself can pay, I have submitted a request to the Public Access Ombudsman for remediation. The custodian of the document should be contacted soon by the ombudsman. On August 28th, Mr. Gutierrez responded to my PIA request. He stated in that email that the Frederick County Board of Elections has delegated the responsibility to the election director for the approval of election judge assignments. I would like to ask this board why they have delegated this responsibility to the staff when Maryland Election Law 10-203A states that the local board shall approve the assignment of the election judges by the director. The spirit and intent of that law is for the local board to oversee the process and ensure that Election Law 10-201B1, requiring local boards to assign judges based on party affiliation, and Election Law 10-201B2II further describes the assignment process, stating that unaffiliated election judges may not exceed the lesser number of the election judges from either the major or minority party. These laws dictate how judges should be assigned. Is that being verified in our local elections? So many times the public is told during these meetings that Republicans do not sign up to be judges. The law must be followed. Parity of election judges by precinct needs to be verified to ensure transparency. Transparency of the election judge assignments is not an item that should have been delegated. Please reclaim the approval process. And I'd like to add to Mr.
Sowell?
Comment. You said public comment is not required, and that is true by the Meetings Act. Public comment is not recorded in your meeting minutes. How are people to know the issues citizens bring to the board if those are not written into your meeting minutes? So that's the only comment. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Lee.
I signed up for comment, thinking I had to do that for the testimony, so.
No, you're fine.
I have nothing to say.
Oh, okay.
I was only testifying on behalf of the, well, I always have something to say, and I will not speak on that.
So can I speak?
Thank you very much for letting me speak. On July 16th, the Freedom of Information Act request was submitted to your office for the parity of election judges. Nearly 2 months have passed and no report has been received. In earlier responses, your office stated that there was no responsive document for the information being requested. Upon further discussion with the staff, initial request was to cost over $4,000 to produce. On August 22nd, a much smaller request was made, asking for only 4 items for each judge for the 2024 election. The struggle to arrive at a final response from the staff comes with a $400 price tag. This information can be easily gathered without requiring 7 hours of labor that we were quoted. My office staff, my private office staff, could accomplish these documents in less than an hour. The Open Meetings Act Compliance Board has ruled that the Frederick County is in violation of this act. At this time, there are 2 outstanding complaints against the board due to the closing of nearly all meetings without properly summarizing the discussion taking place during those meetings and for creating policy in closed session. OMA law exists so that the public can observe the process of deliberations. Soon, you'll be receiving a letter from Ms. Kate Taylor, candidate for Frederick County Republican Central Committee. Her letter is a call to action for Frederick City elections. In short, all Frederick City registered voters are being mailed a ballot. The average American moves 11 times in their lifetime. Ms. Taylor and others are complaining about receiving ballots for people who have moved from homes from these ballots they were sent to. This is a nonpartisan issue. Frederick City relies on its office to remove voters who have changed addresses. The Frederick Fair is coming up, as you know, it starts this Friday. We are providing a QR code for voters to check their registrations. Anyone finding their registration needs to be updated or removed from the list will be directed on how to do that, and it will direct you directly to the State Board of Election website. We take voter roll maintenance as necessary and seriously responsible. We request that you help Frederick City by removing voters that no longer live at the addresses above. And I don't know if I'm allowed to give you this, but this is a copy of the QR code that we're going to be passing out. Do you like to have it? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment and the, today's board meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned.